the heaviness that we can currently experience within the collective consciousness. So many of us, especially empaths, highly sensitive, can really pick up on heaviness or sadness, or that we're going through a sense of bereavement, that something that we knew for so long is dying. It's creating a lot of turbulence within the collective consciousness, which can cause a lot of exhaustion, tiredness, fatigue, feelings of burnout, stress, anxiety, or we just lack the excitement or joy for anything at all, or we're missing a sense of meaning or purpose in life, like we're just kind of existing to pay our taxes and barely getting by. Or it just really seems meaningless trying to work very, very hard for anything, because it's all pointless anyway from all the messages that we are seeing in today's media. So that's kind of like the tip of the iceberg when it comes to the sadness or the heaviness we experience within our collective. So what makes the collective? Let's say we all have, let's say, thought forms. These are like the tiny little clouds that are circling around us, like a little clump of energy that we are producing with our thoughts. Thoughts create emotions, emotions is energy, emotions, which kind of like creates our energy fields. And we all have similar thoughts or thought forms at the moment, which creates a larger cluster of energy. And that kind of really like creates the collective. So our prospects for the future, it kind of feels like a little bit without hope, without inspiration, is that there is a greater void that is currently being expanded within our soul. The soul has a void that can't seem to be filled up. Of course, we can plaster it up with everything that society tells us that this is what we should pursue, like status, fame, recognition, and all of that nonsense, which creates more further separation between what makes us humans. So how do we heal this part of the collective? What I've been working on for many years, it's recognizing like we must really practice the art of grounding ourselves, shooting our roots to knowing exactly who we are, where are we from, where we came from, and most importantly, of course, the vision of where we are going. But first we must know like where our roots are from. Of course, I'm here from the Netherlands, and in case you are wondering if you're Dutch, why I speak English, because most Dutch people speak English but nobody speaks Dutch. Plus, we as Dutch, when we go into our history, our maritime history, reconnecting with our ancestors, because this is really what I'm referring to throughout my videos, and that's really what Germanic wellness stands for. We left a global mark on the world, which is part of this larger collective. We are a global tribe. We are not just Dutch, we are a humanity as a global tribe. Plus we have many international people living here in the Netherlands trying to make a living for themselves as well. That's why. And we are not here like so many Dutch people, they feel like they are superior to other people from the global tribe we are sharing this planet with, which is of course not longer the case. And most of us who are aware, there's kind of like pretty small-mindedness, and that's not really the country that we share. Plus, we as Dutch, we have colonized many regions over the world, and that's why we also have this responsibility to share a common knowledge and wisdom that could elevate the global collective. So how do we heal this part, this void that is within our soul, as we are all picking up on this heaviness? And I can share many examples of what currently is going on, the many crises that exist. Of course, we have conflict, we have world in the Middle East and Eastern Europe, and many people are feeling the fear that this war, if it's not contained, it might spread out of other European regions if Russia is really, getting a free run when NATO is pulling out, United States is pulling out, European Union is basically on its own, because we have a defense of nothing anymore. Probably not big enough against communism and the threats that is facing Europe at the moment. If Russia really goes ahead, what European countries are next? Finland, Latvia, and these three countries, Estland, Letland, Litauen, Belarus, and once Russia invaded these type of countries, then it's basically over. It's just a matter of time. So then we have that conflict. Another conflict is the whole crisis within the masculine, the feminine. Like, we have created a world, a society built by men for men in an out of balance masculine energy. Both men and women have masculine, feminine energy, but also within the masculine, also a lot of men are feeling the exhaustion because they are only in their masculine energy of getting out there, work, taking responsibilities, and trying to fit the perfect image of being a masculine man, of having power, status, control, wealth, and all of these superficial things. But yet they can't really seem to embrace the feminine of emotional intelligence and intuition, of that what really makes the feminine energy so powerful. We can't seem to connect with that either, and that's why we burn out and we feel exhausted all the time. And then of course we have women who have to go along with this masculine culture as well. And then of course we got 86 other variants and versions somewhere in between. I'm not going into that part because that's beyond my understanding. And then of course we have, I'm not saying left or right is better, Republican, it's all kind of like a distraction. But I do feel like a lot of people are currently trying to have a debate or opinion about how the world should operate. But once again, the Netherlands was the most powerful when it was sovereign. And we are not a sovereign nation anymore. Our spirit, our soul has been sold to the devil, based in Brussels, that is going after globalism. It's going after social control and whatnot of what the future might look like for us. A central bank digital currency that is going to monitor everything, what we buy, what we consume, what we do, the amount of CO2 we should be producing. And pretty soon we will basically like cattle that has to be controlled. And then of course we have things around our local industries that are under threat, the fishermen, the farmers, and pretty soon we will sell our local industries to somewhere else and we completely lose our sovereignty. So what we feel basically is that we are missing the kind of roots that makes us feel grounded, like this is where I'm from. Our identity is basically being shred apart, and there's causing like a crisis within our psyche. So how do we re-establish the roots that makes us feel like, yeah, this is where I belong? Another example I wanted to give is, the current tax system in the Netherlands. It's becoming outrageous a little bit, and what we see is those who are working hard, make a little bit of money, they get taxated so incredible much, is that most entrepreneurs and those who have made a little bit of money for themselves, in order for them to keep their money, they basically have to get out of the Netherlands and go to Dubai or whatever, where their tax system is a little bit more in their favor. what happened once again, you know, you could say, okay, that could be a solution, but once again, you displace yourself from once again your own roots, where you are actually from. And I don't think that we should run away from our heritage, because, you know, I lived in another country myself, and displacement is a big issue. And that's kind of really what I refer to, like, you know, we have to go further and deeper into our ancestral lines to realize where our true power exists. And I can give you a couple of examples. Because if we look back to a few hundred years in our Dutch history, we were merchants, we were traders, we were entrepreneurs. We had an incredible gift for trading and building wealth and venturing out the seas in order to build up our country, build up our nation. And everything that is what we see is really built upon that, but right now is getting destroyed because of, you know, the craziness we see in our current world. But we must also recognize, like, wait a minute, you know, everything has light and dark. Like, yes, we should look back at the mistakes our ancestors made and realize what they did within that time was based within their best knowing. We can also look at today's world and say, well, you know, the kind of merchandise we currently trade is also destroying nature, the planet, the earth. And perhaps 50 or 100 years in the future, we also look back to today, like the craziness we are currently doing to the earth and to nature. But that's another thing. But we must also recognize, you know, like our European ancestors has built our country, our nation to what it is today. And we must also realize and bring up a sense of empathy and compassion and forgiveness in order to embrace more of who we really are. And then I'm also talking about the things we did. And I'm talking about us delivering vessels to the people in West Africans who sold out their own people to the slave trades in the West Indies. Now make sure is that what I'm saying is we made a lot of money in slave trade, but we are not slave traders ourselves. We built and we supplied vessels. That's another way to forgive our ancestors. But what we see today is enslavement still exists because the human spirit is currently displaced. You know, we are becoming displaced within ourselves, the land we live on, the social system, the culture, and we forget where we came from. And that's what I mean. Like within our psyche, there's like the so-called the tree of life. The tree of life, and within northern traditions, northern spiritual tradition, Germanic traditions, who are really our ancestors, they referred to the tree of life like the Yggdrasil, and the Yggdrasil had like 9 different worlds. The lower worlds, the middle worlds, and the upper worlds. The lower worlds represents everything regarding our darkness, our ego, our shadow. Part of the lower worlds was basically like hell, the world of the undead, those who were not living. The middle world, the world of the earth, of nature, animals, and the world we are living in as well. And then the upper worlds, of course, the world of the gods. But everything of all these realities, all these dimensions exist within us. And we can really embrace more of our spiritual powers if we realize all these mythologies and spiritual knowledge and wisdom from our ancestors. It's not like they were savages that we used to wipe out. We used to wipe out the entire existence of animism, of realizing we are connected to the nature, to the water, to the elements. And if we open up to realize like this is where our true power exists, and that's how we can ground ourselves in our knowing that we are always safe and protected no matter what. If tomorrow there's World War III happening, Russians are invading our country, knowing that we are always safe and protected by the earth, by nature, no matter what. It's all part of human existence. And now more we start to realize, like, wait a minute, you know, we are part of the Europeans, those who were invading many countries around the world. Also we as Dutch, we brought the liquor, the spirits to the land of the Native Americans because we thought our merchandise were there for them to soothe their pain. Instead, we just completely destroyed their animistic point of view and way of life by literally bringing bad spirits to the land. So we as Europeans, we destroyed our animistic connection. Now we must kind of like rebalance that nature that exists within us in order to feel stronger, more grounded, more protected, more rooted within ourselves. And that's kind of really like the way forward to have more peace within ourselves. Even when the outside world is in conflict, if we embrace more of that peace what exists within us, that becomes part of the collective as well. And that's kind of really how we are moving forward in raising the vibration of the collective. But first we must really face our own shadows, and that's why this is not a path for the faint-hearted, because it's a very difficult path where you have to face your own demons, your own shadow. And now that's why I'm like say, like, you know, working with the light is working with the shadow, because the light can only enter where it hurt the most. So you gotta go and embrace your pains, embrace your issues, embrace your childhood trauma we have all experienced, the emotional abuse, the emotional neglect, and everything that we have experienced in growing up as a human being. How more we do that, how more light we can bring in and out in our soul, and that's really how we can fill that void that exists in all of us and connect more with nature. That's it for now. Let me know your thoughts, simply drop a comment below.